What's going on, people? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. And this afternoon, on this new show, we have got some very interesting stuff to sink our teeth into, as always, with this. So if you are just tuning in, or if you've been waiting about 10, nearly 15 minutes now, for being honest, I do apologise. But yeah, technology, and I have to sort a couple of things out, but it's sorted now, so it's absolutely fine. No problems whatsoever. The main story today, as you've probably already seen from the thumbnail in itself, is player leaks, Carrington, this old rodeo again. We've got things being put out through journalists and personal journalists and all this kind of stuff. So I definitely want to talk about that and the kind of effects it's having on us as fans, on the manager, and as everyone around the club. We've got news on Graham Potter turning down Ajax. Is he waiting in the wings for the Manchester United job, which could be interesting? Dave Brailsford's done an assessment of Carrington, saying it's not good enough and basically not up to standards. So where do we go from there? And according to James from the Muppeteers, a good friend of the channel, we are after an experienced striker. So keep that in mind just as we go through these stories. And give me some decent options. I've got a couple of that I've listed, but I'd like to know what everybody's thinking, because usually, people throw out players that sometimes you completely forget about. And you're like, oh, could be a decent option, experienced, seasoned, won trophies before. You kind of Olivier Giroud's, these kind of guys. I'm not saying go get Giroud, because I think he's about 38 now, but I'm just saying that kind of striker who's different to Højlund, but would offer different things and experience for Højlund to learn off. So that I'm going to get into towards the end. But we're going to start with these player leaks, and we're going to discuss the manager later. So we've got a couple of things from social media that I want to talk about as well, which is one of the main reasons why I was taking quite a while to come on. I was just getting the right stuff. So, yeah, we're going to start with player leaks. There's a strong feeling among some sources that the intensity of Erik ten Hag's Man United training, particularly for players returning from lengthy layoffs, have played a factor in re-aggravation of injuries. The suggestion internally is that this is the same guy in the same article, right? So just bear that in mind when I read out this next bit. So the first bit, strong feelings, the intensity of Erik ten Hag's training, players returning from layoffs, it's kind of aggravating them, right? That's the first bit. The same article, the suggestions internally is that many of United's injuries has been rotten luck rather than a systematic failure behind the scenes. One source put it down to the accumulation of games post-COVID catching up to the club. So which one is it? Do you know what I mean? Then these kind of leaks that are coming out through the Mirror, I think it's John Cross, who's like the chief correspondent there, is saying one Manchester United insider has described the mood among the squad as miserable, with many of the players convinced Erik ten Hag will be sacked. And apparently this is leading into performances, players so-called down in tools, whatever it is you want to call it. And I think the narrative is interesting in that, because a lot of people have different takes. But just kicking off with the intensity thing first and foremost, right? The question I'll throw back to that is, how do you get set players to reach a high intensity level of the Premier League without pushing them to the limits? Do you know what I mean? You look at all these teams in, especially the top half of the table, how hard they work. I mean, Arsenal, for all the technical brilliance, like Ødegaard and players like Saka, are absolutely graft the backsides off, but they have equally the same amount of talent going forward. Man City, Foden, Bernardo Silva work like hungry dogs, mate, when they lose the ball. So how do you get set players to reach such a high intensity level without pushing the levels in training? Do you know what I mean? Like, now, obviously, this has got to be dealt with in kind of a detailed kind of fashion, because you've got nutritionists and you've got fitness coaches who should be looking at this and who should be testing the levels every single day and seeing why the threshold isn't hitting others. Are they simply just not up to it? Because I remember when Ragnick came in, and we had that stat come up, didn't we, that his pressing stats when he was at Leipzig in comparison to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's stats, and he was just fucking miles off. I think we was like 19th in the league for running stats. So I don't know if this is in the player's DNA. You talk about players like Eriksen, for example, who's obviously not physically capable of like pressing and doing the Kante dog work, let's say. Casemiro, for example, his legs have completely fell off. He isn't up to it physically. Marcus Rashford has been heavily criticised before for his work off the ball, not tracking back. Everything else, now, some people said sometimes that's instruction, you play to the strengths, but you can't do that in today's game. You can't allow one player to slack. We're not even talking about a player here who's bagging goals this season. He's got about 6 goals. So, get the fucking work in. If you're bagging 30 plus, then you can kind of accept it in that sense. Think about, they said it with Ronaldo. He wouldn't always track back, but the guy got 40 plus goals. So, you kind of like, okay, well, we'll put in the extra, Ji-Sung Park will put in the extra work, whoever it was who was in the midfield at the time. So I don't think it's in the DNA. Players like Sancho, Martial, Rashford, Eriksen, Casemiro, they don't seem hungry enough, some of them, and the bodies can't keep up with the tolerance, you know what I mean? So I think that is something that you definitely need to question. But I think the nutrition and fitness levels and medical staff definitely need assessing. I mean, Dave Brailsford has been doing assessment for the past couple of months as far as well as, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's team and a load of other people. So this is something I'm sure they'll be looking at, because this season has been a prime example of how bad it's really been. And Ten Hag saying, I remember the interview that he did, and he was like, the levels nowadays are so high to reach. You have to push these guys, and he's pushed them to the point where it's broke. The other side of the thing is a lot of these injuries are muscle injuries, so that shows that. I mean, I'm not fucking an expert, but that basically shows that they're being worked too hard. Muscle injuries are a big red flag of that. And I think Maguire's picked up muscle injuries, Varane's picked up muscle injuries, Luke Shaw's had muscle injuries. The majority of the team have, from what I remember. But it still gives me this kind of feeling that it's the exact same as the Ragnick season, do you know what I mean? Players milking injuries, the dooming feeling that the next manager is gone, people not really trying on the pitch, and it's unacceptable in it for as a fan watching. You kind of disappointed yet again that it's happening, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately, at this club, and that's why it's so fucking horrible. We have almost, the reason why I put it on Twitter, chapter 6, it's Eric's fault. All these players are putting towards the manager, and that they don't take accountability for themselves. Do you know what I mean? It's easier for a lot of people to talk about the manager, and you get the tactics, and you look at the team that's against Crystal Palace. Eriksen in there, Casemiro. I mean, Casemiro at centre back. Oh my word, terrible. Johnny Evans didn't even pass a fitness test, and he was chucked in at centre back because we had no other centre backs. Wan-Bissaka at left back's null and void. You cannot get a tune out of him. He offers nothing in that area, absolutely nothing, and kills that left-hand side off completely. Garnacho missing big chances. Like, you could go through the full squad with a fine-tooth comb, and there is context to it rather than just saying this is just the manager. Absolutely not. The players are culpable as well. And I think you need to talk about some of them moving on as well as the manager if you're going to take that. Charlie Malman says, Potter, I actually think if they want a manager, we will not know who it is until Erik ten Hag is removed, and I think it's someone not in the spotlight. That would be interesting. Saint saying, I hate every single one of these players, man. Every single manager, it's the same fucking cycle. That's what I'm saying. We have seen this chapter before. We've seen this rodeo under Mourinho. We've seen it under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We've seen it under Ragnick, and we've seen it under Ten Hag right now. So, one thing that always sticks with me that someone said to me, I remember when I first moved into my flat, and there was mould in the room, and I know mould you can't get rid of unless you completely knock it down, basically, knock the brick wall to get it out, or it's very hard to get it out at least. And I would use a similar analogy with this team, like, you can bring in a new manager and a new face and a new structure or whatever, but if you keep the same core of players, things won't change. It won't change. And you need to make swift, strong decisions to remove that mould, in my opinion. There is one change. You have an owner who's gone mental on underperforming and lazy staff, like the cleaners who do not do their job proper. That is where you start to fix a club, absolutely. Alexander Cortel says Jadon Sancho might be going, I don't know what that says, going to Chelsea, I think he's saying there. It wouldn't surprise me with Todd Bowler, to be honest with you. But yeah, this kind of ties in as well to, there was a report about Dave Brailsford, to do with Carrington, basically saying it's not good enough. He's concluded that Carrington is not fit for purpose as an elite sport base and believes the club needs to relocate, which would be very interesting. It seems Ineos are certainly clearing the cobwebs, aren't they? I mean, to think Carrington was a state-of-the-art facility almost 20 years ago, the best around, to think it's had no work done to it whatsoever is shocking in it. For the Glazers, they're like, much like the stadium, they're just like, are we in Champions League? Yeah, no worries, right, call me next year, that's fine. How much you need? Yeah, just take out the club for the transfer market. RJ says, get rid of most of our players in the next 2 years, keep Garnacho, Højlund, Mainu, Martinez, and Mainu. 2 Mainus there. Oh, can you imagine if you had a twin? How amazing would that be? Grace in the chat. Hello, Grace. Hope you're okay. Saying Ineos said they'll do things differently. Time to prove it. Back the manager this summer and remove the players that won't fight for Erik ten Hag. I think ten Hag's gone after the FA Cup final. I really, really do. I'm going to discuss Graham Potter in a moment as well. Sorry, missed a couple of comments. My bad, didn't need to put 2. It's all right. We'd be all right with 2 main news, won't we? Right, let me read some comments. Next season, we need squad depth, says Goat. Ginger Vaughn says, is it true United are looking at Graham Potter? I'm going to talk about Graham Potter. You've given me the perfect segue there. So let's dive into the Graham Potter thing. And if you can, guys, please do smash the subscribe, smash like on the video, and hit that subscribe button. We are this many away from 5,000 subscribers. 13 away from... we want to try and do it by the Arsenal game. So if you're watching on TikTok, or if you're watching and you just clicked on YouTube, like, who the fuck is this guy? Please do hit that subscribe button. We have content every single day, 2 live shows on TikTok and YouTube. So, yeah, that would be amazing if you could do that. Next season, Gulp says, sell Rashford, Greenwood, Sancho, and Casemiro, and boom, 200... You know, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to do that, but it doesn't always work out like that, does it? Especially with sales. I mean, it could be different under Ineos, I don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see with that one. I think the summer's going to be fascinating. Now, Graham Potter. Let's discuss Graham Potter. You know what, I just realised? What on earth am I doing there? I've not even put a fucking... What an idiot. What an idiot. Right. It's always something with me, isn't there? Always something. I've just clocked. I'm live on YouTube there. I've set up everything perfect there. I've got my social media section. I've got the management section. I've got everything absolutely spot on. Even took an extra 10 minutes to do it, and then I just looked at the graphic and I'm like, I've not even put a picture on there. What a guy I am. What a guy. Like I said, anyone who's watched this for long enough knows it's like Rio when he says, this is what he does. This is what he does. There we go. Sorry, people. For your viewing pleasure, you had no graphic there whatsoever, and I can only apologise about that. Oh my God, what was going on? Put Big Dave there. In the corner. Dave's in the corner. Yeah, perfect. There we go. Right, apologies about that. Where was he at? Graham Potter. Okay, so The Athletic and David Ornstein put something out about Potter saying he has declined the chance to become Ajax head coach. The 48-year-old Englishman held talks with the 4-time European champions and emerged as a leading contender, known to have been impressed by Ajax, but felt the project was not right for him at present. Interesting. Then Ben Jacobs puts a tweet out saying Graham Potter would be very tempted by the Manchester United manager role if he was offered an interview should a vacancy arrive, basically on his desk. Now, one might speculate, is he holding out for the Manchester United job? Another concept to discuss as well is, do we need more of a squad builder rather than, a squad builder and a yes man under Ineos rather than... someone like a Thomas Tuchel, let's say, for example. What do we all think of Graham Potter? Because he's obviously is he first and foremost, is he an underrated coach? And do you think people are going away from him because he's not necessarily the favourite? I do think he's underrated. I think what he did at Brighton was really, really good. I was impressed. Like the way he sets up, the flexibility in his tactics. He could switch to a back 3 mid-game. He could really, really pivot in games and adapt to the opposition. I think much like a chameleon, which I respected. And whenever I watched him at Brighton, it was really good. And then you look at the time at Chelsea and you're like, I don't know. But then at the same time, the structure above him at Chelsea, as anyone knows, is complete fucking chaos. The issue I have with Potter, and I've always said this, is how can you command respect going into a dressing room when you've won 1 Swedish Cup? You go into Manchester United. Fucking managers, some of the greatest managers ever, like Jose Mourinho, Louis van Gaal had a very good resume. Champions League winners, treble winners, and they struggle to get respect at certain times. So you're taking Graham Potter, he's going at dressing rooms going, listen here, lads. I don't know how he speaks. Has he got a bit of a northern accent or a Bristolian or I don't know, whatever it is. Let's pretend it's Bristolian. I don't think it's Bristolian, but let's pretend it is. You're right, lads. Right, Marcus, I'm going to get you doing sprints down the side. Jaden, I want you on the right side doing sprints as well. And I'm going to look at him and I'm going to go, nah. Not, you ain't that guy, Graham. You're not that guy. So I think he would struggle to stamp his authority, whereas I think his character's more like Tuchel and De Zerbi have that kind of authority. Even though, De Zerbi's not necessarily won anything major, I think he would struggle to stamp the authority. But then again, it might be Ineos, the structure above him, who are like, we just need you to coach. We'll deal with the rest of the shit, So yeah, it could work like that in that sense. When are we going to wake up? It ain't the manager, it's them players, if we can call them that. I agree with you, Chucky Red. Do you think Rashford and Martinez will start, or is it too soon? Well, we did the Arsenal preview yesterday. Sam didn't put him in his starting 11. He thinks, because he didn't want to rush him back, and he's thinking about the FA Cup final, you're going to need them kind of players. I think he would want to avoid another slapping like Crystal Palace, because Arsenal are a far better team than Crystal Palace. So I think he might chuck him in there with Rashford. But I've been wrong before, so I don't know. Why are we still talking about replacing the manager rather than the players? I agree. Trust me, everyone who's saying that in the chat, I agree. Ginger Viking saying United will go downhill if they get Potter. Tuchel would be a nightmare for us because he causes division in the club. And that's what I mean, his opinions everywhere. And that leads me into my next... If you're on YouTube, you'll see what social media saying. So, you know, these are all kind of takes on the management and the two that are up for selection and just the whole situation in general. You've got Jamie Carragher. You've got Suhul Chowdhury, a very good account on Twitter. You've got Jay Motti, a friend of the channel. And you've got H, who's like an analytical for Manchester United and the overlap, I think it is. Some interesting takes. So we'll go with Carragher's first. Mikel Arteta had a tough first 18 months as a manager at Arsenal, but was given time to turn it around. Erik ten Hag results are better, so does he deserve the same? And I think that's a very interesting... Let me ask you guys this. This is why we're here, right? Interaction, debates, topics, all that kind of stuff. Does he deserve the same amount of time? Is the Arteta narrative, does it compare? Let's get some insightful people in here. If United get a slap in Sunday and lose the cup final, will Ten Hag be sacked? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. YouTube, talk to me. Are we still live? Are we still awake? Are we active? Does the Arteta narrative, is it a similar thing? Should you put faith in him? Because I don't think it ever got this bad under Arteta, did it? From what I can remember. I know we had like months where he had a pretty bad losing streak and he plays like a Aubameyang and a whole load of situations. I think the United situation is slightly different. But I would like to know and get a general consensus if people would. Are you happy to give Ten Hag time or are you completely done with him? Let me know. That's the problem with United. They're not giving managers the chance to rebuild. Callum saying, I think he needs more time. He's got us to 3 cup finals and Champions League football in 2 years. Bergie Collins says, Arteta took over a lot worse team and spent less money on average in a window than Ten Hag. That's interesting. Has he spent less money? I thought Arteta spent more money. Oh, I get what you're saying, like, in terms of, yeah, who knows. Yeah, he deserves time, but I think Erik ten Hag can win us the league. I'm actually quite surprised by... Give him time, sacking managers every 2 years. We'll never get him anywhere. Backing Ten Hag all the way. I am really surprised at that. Not because my opinion is I think he should go. I mean, I was done after the Fulham game, but that's very surprising. It's very, very surprising. But it's nice to see the support. You know, I think what it is, people aren't stupid. They're not stupid. They know the situation with the club and how many times this has happened, and they would probably rather get rid of the players, wouldn't they, than the manager and himself, and see what Erik ten Hag can do. But the one thing I will throw back at you on that, if I was to kind of play devil's advocate, excuse the pun, would be what's to say Ineos is going to work out. A lot of people talking about a new structure. You know, let's see what he can do under that. It's not guaranteed and nailed on that Ineos are going to be successful at Manchester United, you know. They have all these big ideas and they've brought in some amazing people who I think can be fantastic for the club. But that's not a guarantee that it's going to work. It's not a guarantee that it's going to work. So, yeah. Hi, bro. Hello. Hard to rebuild when there's a new manager every 2 seasons. Absolutely. Because then what happens is, innit, you end up with a accumulation of players that aren't even yours. So we've got players still from the Van Gaal era in Anthony Martial and Luke Shaw. Granted, they're injured at the moment, but they're still part of the squad. We've got players from Jose Mourinho's era, Victor Lindelof, Diego Dalot, any others? Probably one more that I'm forgetting. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. There's probably others as well that I'm forgetting. But yeah, you take my point. It is just a mixed pack of players. Look at Pep's team. Every single player there, he signed. And he's built up, basically. Same thing with Klopp at Liverpool. So maybe there is an argument in that. But we'll move on to the next bit. So, Sohail Chowdhury says, Graham Potter and Thomas Tuchel are serious candidates to become the next manager of Manchester United. Anyone that thinks they're not is just deluded. Are they the favourites, do you feel like, at the minute? Out of all the managers that are available, are they the two you would put up there and say, yeah? You know, you've got brief kind of bits coming out from TalkSport about Hansi Flick. You've got... I mean, Zidane's been talked about, but I think that's absolute nonsense. I don't think he'd go to United. I also don't think we need him at the moment, to be honest. I think, yeah, I want to take Zidane. Pep hasn't signed every player in the squad. Okay. Who's he not signed apart from De Bruyne? De Bruyne was there when Pep arrived, wasn't he? But he signed the majority of players. I mean, come on. Fucking hell. Let's not be pedantic in this. Just remember, Eric Ten Hag got rid of De Gea for Onana. Well, that's a whole... I mean, I'm not even going to get involved in that because I could sit here for about half an hour and discuss that in general. If Ten Hag gets sacked, bring back Jose. Wow. Yeah, so are they the two favourites, do we feel? Potter and Tuchel? And which one would you go for? I'll leave that with that. So, Jay Motti put a tweet out as well after the Bayern Munich game, I think it was, saying, get 21-40, get Tuchel in at United. 21-48, Tuchel should be nowhere near the United job. I did think that it was slightly reactionary, the way people were going on about it, that, you know, I can't believe Tuchel's done this and whatever. And it was all going on about Harry Kane, and then about literally 2 hours later, it was like his back was fucked, so he couldn't continue. Manuel Neuer had one of the best games of his life, and then fucking just completely fucked up, did an Onana basically, and fumbled the ball, and they went and scored. So, was it manager tactics, or was it? I don't think they set up. You know, I think they looked quite comfortable. He was doing all right. I know Madrid had a couple of chances, but that when you have players like Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Bellingham, they're going to get chances. And when you have players like Toni Kroos as well. But I thought it was pretty equal, and they were just a bit toothless up top when they got into the final third. I don't mind Tuchel. I've always said this. I think that out of the ones that are available right now, if I was to go out on a limb, I'd think Tuchel's the one that I would bring in, just because I think... I didn't even mean that to rhyme then, but I'm just creative. I think he would come in, he would bring that kind of German steel that we need. He wouldn't be afraid to drop players. I know he's clashed with players before. I know he's clashed with Kimmich, and Kimmich got cooked by Vinny in the last game, didn't he? He does clash with players, but I remember when he went in at Chelsea, I always reference this, but they was leaking goals left, right and centre under Frank Lampard. He came in and defensive just made him sound straight away. And we could do with something like that right now. We are leaking so many goals at the minute. 88 goals, I think it is, we've conceded in all competitions, which is, you know, we're probably going to hit the 100 mark by the end of the season. Think about that. Think about that. We're probably going to hit conceded 100 goals by the end of the season. It's very possible, because Arsenal could put 4 or 5 past us. Newcastle could easily put 3 or 4 past us. I think they're one of the highest scoring teams in the league. Brighton as well can score quite a few. So you could actually hit the 100 marks. Crazy when you think about that. Over 300 shots as well on goal. You need it watertight there. You need shoring up in that back line. Obviously, many other things wrong with the club, but yeah. H put on Twitter, 8 of Eric Ten Hag's signings featured against Crystal Palace. 8. This is not the same group of players that did it to whatever manager you want. So basically saying that, like, the narrative of the players down in tools is bullshit, because 8 of the players were his. But again, if you want to go back on that and slightly have a debate about it, I would probably suggest Amrabat was on loan. That's because he was desperate and brought him in. Eriksen was on a free and brought him in. Johnny Evans, because he didn't get Kim Min-jae. So it was like, well, I need a centre-back, another option, because obviously you've foreseen the kind of injuries that's happened. So Johnny Evans was brought in as free, you know. Rasmus Højlund, his first season at the club. Bought for a lot of money, granted, but that's because, again, we couldn't get Harry Kane, so we brought in Rasmus Højlund and had to be patient with him. Anthony, yeah, okay, you can have that one. That's absolutely fine. Who else is there? Onana was all right. I think he was doing well up until the Elise goal, I think it was. And that was when it was in, like, the centre of the goal, and you're like, oh, fucking hell, what are you doing there? What are you doing? But yeah, that's what I mean. There's an argument with it. There's a debate to be had. Anyway, let's move on to the striker, because I really want to discuss that. And we'll go back to this screen. So James from the Muppeteers, a very good friend of the channel, and when it comes to knowledge and things with transfers and Ineos, he's very, very good. So yeah, he's put out Manchester United are exploring signing an older, experienced striker that Rasmus Højlund can learn off, whilst also looking at investing in a new winger. The striker is the main thing that I want to discuss. I would love to know who this list of targets is, because this is a thing that we've been discussing for a while now with Rasmus Højlund. What type of striker do you want to bring in? Do you want to bring in a young one that's going to compete with him? Or do you want to bring in an older one that's more seasoned, that's won trophies, that's maybe a slightly different kind, like a prototype of striker? Do we need a target man? A different kind of option to bring on? What do we think? I mean, not again, and I'm fascinated to know people's opinions on this one because we've spoken about it on the channel like as a group before, but I don't really know the opinions of everyone else. So get your comments in and let me know, and let's discuss this. And please, if you can as well, I know I annoy people with this. We're on 4,987 subs. If you can click the link, join us in YouTube when we have live shows every single day, 2 live shows, and hit that subscribe button. That'd be absolutely amazing. And help us hit 5K whilst we're live. Maybe I could pop. You know what? I'll do something ridiculous. If we get 5K right now, I'll get the Disarano out or something. I'll just do a random shot just because it's just fuck it. Why not? Let's try push that. Anyway, could you both do with Victor? Are you on about Gyökeres? You need a striker? Yep, we definitely do. Osman would be good, but 150 million quid. That's more than what we've been quoted to have for the summer as a whole. So I don't think we're going to be signing any kind of players like that. I think it's going to be a bit of a maybe a bit of a Giroud-like kind of signing. I mean, I had a list before. I mean, we literally had Cristiano Ronaldo. That's the funny thing, isn't it? Like, if you're Rasmus Højlund and you're picking out the perfect player to learn from, someone who's one of the greatest of all time, won every trophy there is imaginable apart from the World Cup, finishing unbelievable, positioning unbelievable, dedication and training unbelievable. You want him to learn from Ronaldo, don't you, really? But obviously, we had to let him go because, you know, shit at the fan. But he would have been that kind of perfect example to look up at for Højlund. It would have been so fucking good. But Ronaldo was gone. We can't sit here and moan about it. We need to look at other kind of options. So I've compiled a list of strikers that I would maybe go for. And let me know what you think about this. So this is some of them I wouldn't, but I've just a list. I'm thinking who's going to be available potentially, who they're going to try box clever. Whoever's just subscribed, by the way, because it's just gone up. Thank you very much. Let me know in the chat, whoever that was. And I'm thinking, you're going to have to be clever with it, aren't you? You can't spend 50 million, 60 million quid. I don't think they're going to do that. So, you know, they need to bring in maybe different types. So, but I'll just go through the list. So we've got Joselu, who obviously scored 2 against Bayern Munich. I'm not saying that just because he scored 2. I'm just saying experienced striker who's been around the block, been at many different clubs, from Stoke to Newcastle to fucking Real Madrid. You've got Benzema, who I think is unhappy in Saudi at the moment, but then you think the wages that he's probably going to command would be mega, but would he fancy the challenge in the Premier League? Can he still play at that level? I'm pretty sure he can. You know, it's not too far away from when he fucking was killing it in the Champions League. Alvaro Morata is one that always floats about. I wouldn't take him at United personally, but that guy's agent is on smoke. He went from like Chelsea to Juventus he went from like Real Madrid to Juventus to Chelsea, back to Juventus to Atletico Madrid. Like, he's played for loads of top clubs and he's such like an average striker. But would they consider bringing in someone like that? I don't know. Only PSG would give us potentially over 60 million for Rashford. Probably agree with that. I've got Gresse from, is it Stuttgart in the German league? I think it's Stuttgart. Apologies if it is. He had a bit of a hot streak earlier on in the year. Got a little bit quiet now from what I've seen. I'm not sure if he's injured or not. And then I've Dominic Solanke, who would be relatively expensive, but 27, 28. You saw when United played against him, he gave our backline fucking terrors. And he's a strong player. You could play into him. Fantastic finisher. I really like Solanke, but again, he's more pricey. How many out of contacts do you have? Out of contracts, do you mean? Elaborate a little bit on that for us. Let me go to the YouTube comments and see what these guys are saying. How many players do you think we need to get rid of? Ideally, that's from Gamer Boy Yannick. A tough one. How many players do we need to get rid of? I'll go through very quickly off the top of my head. So, Wan-Bissaka. Maybe they need to look at the left-back's situation. I don't think they'll sell Shaw, but we need to have a discussion about it at least. I think Varane's going to go, leaving us somewhere on the free. Maguire could potentially go. Casemiro for sure. Eriksen for sure. Antony I would sell. Sancho I would sell. Rashford I would consider. I mean, I could sit here and explain it. Watch the tier list video that we did. We literally went through the full squad and decided where they should go. So, yeah, that's probably a better answer. We could have dodged a big bullet by not getting Kim. I know, I really wanted him at the time as well, 50 million quid. I still think he's a decent centre-back, but he's been a bit flaky. Abu Bakar says, dressing room issues, as always, mate. Charlie saying, Welbeck, the suggestion for striker. Gamer Boy saying, Boniface. Benzema is at Real Madrid for the moment, being treated by the doctors. I'm not a fan of Real Madrid at all, but I respect them big time for doing that. I weren't aware of that with Benzema. Honestly, I didn't know. I thought he was still in Saudi, to be honest with you. Would you bring back anyone from loan? I think Dan Gore's doing well on loan from what I've seen a little bit. I think he can progress into the team eventually if you talk about the academy players that we've got on loan. I'm not a fan of Joe Hugill from what I've seen. Who else is out on loan at the moment? Brandon Williams, no, definitely not. He was all right when he first came in under Ole, but no. Who else? Come on, throw some out there and I'll let you know. Patrick Schick is the second striker at Leverkusen. Yeah, that's a good shout. Very good shout. He should have been on my list, to be honest with you. I don't know why I didn't put Patrick Schick on there. But I don't mind him. He's not bad. I also remember that goal he scored as well. Yeah, incredible. Was it the World Cup? Crazy. Alvaro, I've already said him sure he has. He's already on the list, mate. Alvaro Morata, don't worry about that. He's on fucking every club's list, and just in case. He's like everyone's contingency plan, innit? So, yeah. That's why I'm so excited for the summer, because I think we're going to have a very different approach in terms of what kind of players we go for, who we scout, how we negotiate. Instead of getting bent over a barrel for fucking numerous players, Antony, Maguire, Pogba, Sancho, whoever it is, and spending so much fucking money, I think we're going to be a little bit more clever, in my opinion. I'm hoping, anyway. And sometimes it might be a player that a lot of people haven't even heard of. They might, found a gem in South America, and I have absolutely no issue with that. I think teams have done it before where they just find Julian Alvarez, for example. City went and paid 15 million quid for him. The guy's won a World Cup and a treble in the same year. It's incredible. His value now has gone through the roof. So little pickups like that, I don't mind. If it's a player that we haven't heard of, fantastic, great. Bring him into the team if you trust the scouting. Absolutely. No problem with that whatsoever. Yeah, thank you for the follows, everyone. We're 12 off 5,000. 12 subscribers off 5,000. So please do click that subscribe button in the bottom right corner of your screen if you're on YouTube, or click the link in the description. We are live every single day, twice a day, 12 o'clock and 7 o'clock as well. We're going to have a couple of lads on tonight. I think we were just discussing, actually, the show, so let me give you a little insight. Sam was mentioning. Let me have a look. Unpopular opinions, I think. Yeah, I think we're going to do unpopular opinions, which should get very interesting and spark debate. So come and tune in for that. Breaking news from Man United. Yep, you basically just missed the full show, so sorry to thinger. Come on, let's go 5K. Yeah, man. So I'm going to leave it at that. Good half an hour there, good solid half an hour. Just a quick recap in terms of what we've spoken about today and what we've gone through. We discussed the player leaks at Carrington and what Dave Brailsford thinks of the actual centre in itself. We discussed Graham Potter turning down Ajax and waiting in the wings for Manchester United. We discussed potential strikers that we could bring in to tailor with Højlund. And there was something about a winger there as well, but that's probably going to be Elise, isn't it? We could sit here and discuss it, but we probably know what's going to happen. Everton should have been relegated. Why? I'm confused. I was just seeing something about points deduction. I'm not sure. I'm going to go read into that anyway. Right, I'll leave you lovely people to enjoy the rest of your day. Please do come and join us at 7 o'clock later on, where we're going to be discussing some unpopular opinions and bring your unpopular opinion, and we can react to that as well and have a debate and have a genuine discussion. So, take it easy. Don't be too hard on yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day. Is it warm outside? If it's warm outside, I don't know, get a clip or lolly or something, fuck knows. Right, I'll see you in the next one. Take it